The signal came from deep space, weak and desperate. It traveled through the void for weeks before Earth's monitoring stations caught it. The message was simple but terrifying. Someone out there was dying, and they needed help. Dr. Yuna Shin sat in her lab at the deep space monitoring station, her eyes wide as she listened to the translated message for the third time. She was young for her position, only 29, but she had spent her entire adult life studying alien languages and cultures. This message made her hands shake. They're being killed, she whispered to herself. Entire worlds. Millions of people. The voice in the recording belonged to someone called Ambassador Relna. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. The Veltan Union, a peaceful collection of colony worlds, was under attack. An empire called the Krathex Dominion had already destroyed 3 planets. The Veltan had no military strong enough to stop them. They were sending this message to anyone who might listen, anyone who might care. Yuna sent the recording up the chain of command immediately. Within hours, it reached the United Earth Council. Within a day, it sat on the desk of Admiral Daewon Kim. Admiral Daewon was 52 years old and had spent 30 of those years in Earth's defense fleet. He had fought in 3 colony wars, protected dozens of human settlements, and lost too many good people along the way. When he listened to the Veltan distress call, he heard something that made his jaw tighten. He heard the sound of innocent people being murdered while the galaxy did nothing. The council met in Geneva. Representatives from every major nation gathered in the Great Hall, their faces projected on screens that surrounded the room. Admiral Daewon stood at the center, his uniform crisp and perfect, his expression hard. "We should help them," he said simply. There were immediate objections. Earth had its own problems. Resources were limited. Why should humanity risk its people for aliens they had never met? Some argued that this was not Earth's fight. Admiral Daewon listened to every argument. Then he spoke again, his voice quiet but firm. "I once failed to act quickly enough," he said. "It was 15 years ago. A colony called New Perth. We received reports of pirate attacks, but the council debated for weeks about whether to send ships. By the time we arrived, 3,000 colonists were dead. I have thought about those people every single day since then." The room went silent. "These Veltan people are asking for help. They are being slaughtered. If we have the power to stop it and we choose to do nothing, then we are no better than the ones killing them." Admiral Daewon looked around the room. "I vote we act. Now." The debate continued for another hour, but the Admiral's words had weight. The final vote was close, but it passed. Earth would respond to the distress call. 3 days later, Ambassador Relna arrived at Earth. The Veltan shuttle descended through the atmosphere, and Relna watched the planet below with growing concern. She had studied the basic information about Earth while traveling here. It was classified as a Class 9 death world. That meant it was one of the most dangerous planets in the known galaxy. High gravity, extreme weather, thousands of predator species, diseases that could kill in hours. Most civilized species would never evolve on such a world, yet somehow humans had. When the shuttle landed, Relna stepped out on 4 crystalline legs. Her body was covered in translucent plates that shimmered in Earth's harsh sunlight. She stood about as tall as a human's shoulder. 2 humans in military uniforms waited for her. "Ambassador Relna," one of them said. "I'm Dr. Yuna Shin. This is Lieutenant Taeyang Park. Welcome to Earth." Relna noticed how they moved. Smooth and efficient, even in this crushing gravity. She had increased her internal support structures just to walk on this world without collapsing. "These humans lived here naturally. Thank you for receiving me," Relna said through her translator device. "I apologize for the desperate nature of our message." "Don't apologize," Yuna said. Her voice was gentle, but her eyes showed anger. "We've reviewed the data you sent. What the Krathex are doing is genocide. Come with us. Admiral Daewon wants to meet you." They led Relna through the military base. Everywhere the ambassador looked, she saw humans training, running in formation, carrying heavy weapons, practicing hand-to-hand combat. They moved with a controlled violence that made Relna's crystalline body feel fragile. The meeting room was simple and functional. Admiral Daewon stood when Relna entered. He was tall for a human with gray hair and tired eyes. When he spoke, his voice carried absolute authority. "Ambassador, I'm sorry for what your people are suffering. I've read your reports. I've seen the images." He paused. "Show me everything. I need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." For the next 2 hours, Relna presented everything. The Krathek's Dominion had appeared at the edge of Veltan space 2 years ago. They demanded submission and tribute. When the Veltan refused, the Kratheks attacked. The first planet fell in a month. The population was either enslaved or killed. The second planet tried to fight back. The Kratheks destroyed it from orbit, killing everyone. The third planet surrendered immediately, hoping for mercy. There was none. Yuna translated some of the Veltan written reports aloud. Her voice broke several times as she described what the Kratheks did to prisoners. Lieutenant Tae Yang, a young officer with sharp eyes, took notes on everything. His expression grew darker with each page. When the presentation ended, Admiral Daewon stood and walked to the window. He looked out at the training grounds where human soldiers ran through obstacle courses. "How many Krathek ships?" he asked. "Their main fleet has approximately 800 warships," Relna answered. "Our defense forces have been destroyed. We have nothing left to fight with. How long until they attack your homeworld?" "Intelligence suggests 2 weeks. Maybe 3. Admiral Daewon turned back to face her. "Then we have no time to waste." He touched a control panel on the table. "Captain Cho, report to the command center immediately." Within minutes, a woman in a naval uniform entered the room. She was in her mid-30s, lean and dangerous looking. Her eyes swept the room and settled on the Admiral. "Captain Hana Cho," Admiral Daewon said, "you're being given command of the Third Fleet. We're going to war." Hana's expression didn't change, but something fierce appeared in her eyes. "Yes, sir. What's our mission?" "Full military intervention. We're going to the Veltan system and we're going to stop the Kratheks." Admiral Daewon pulled up a star chart. "How fast can we mobilize?" "The Third Fleet can be ready in 48 hours, Hana said without hesitation. "We have 16 battle carriers, 43 cruisers, 92 destroyers, and full support vessels. Total combat strength of 3,000 warships with marine contingents." Relna felt her internal structures vibrate with shock. 3,000 warships? In 2 days? The entire Veltan Union at its peak could barely field 300, and it had taken years to build them. "Make it happen," Admiral Daewon ordered. "Commander Borrelli's Marine Division will accompany you. This is a full liberation operation." "Understood, sir." Captain Hana saluted and left immediately. Relna found her voice. "Admiral, I am grateful, but I must understand. You are committing enormous resources to help people you have never met. Why?" Admiral Daewon looked at her directly. "Because you asked for help. Because what's happening to your people is wrong. And because we can." He paused. "On Earth we have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We are not going to do nothing." Over the next 2 days, Relna watched in amazement as humanity mobilized for war. Ships launched from orbital docks, soldiers loaded into transport vessels. Weapons and supplies were moved with incredible efficiency. These humans had clearly done this before, many times. Yuna stayed with Relna, explaining what was happening. "We're a Deathworld species," she said. "Earth tried to kill us for millions of years. We learned to fight back. We learned to fight everything. But you are so far from your home," Relna said. "This is not your war." "You made it our war when you asked for help," Yuna replied. She smiled, but it was a hard smile. "And the Kratheks made it our war when they started killing innocent people. We really don't like that." On the morning of the third day, Relna stood on the observation deck of the EDS Thunderhead, Captain Hana's flagship. Through the massive windows, she could see the entire Third Fleet assembled in Earth's orbit. Thousands of warships, all bristling with weapons, all ready for combat. Captain Hana stood beside her, watching her own fleet with satisfaction. "This is more military power than my entire civilization ever built," Relna said quietly. "Then it's a good thing we're on your side," Hana replied. She touched her communications device. "All ships, this is the Thunderhead. Prepare for FTL jump on my mark." Relna watched as the human warships began to glow with energy. Their faster-than-light drives were charging. "Admiral Daewon sends his regards," Hana said to Relna. "He'll join us with the First Fleet in 3 days. But we're not waiting. The Kratheks are running out of time." The fleet jumped to FTL, tearing through space toward the Veltan system. As the stars stretched around her, Relna realized something that both comforted and terrified her. The Veltan had asked for help. The Deathworlders had answered with an armada. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Veltan system. 3,000 warships appeared in space like a swarm of metal predators. On the Thunderhead's bridge, Captain Hana watched her tactical displays come alive with data. All ships reporting ready status, Lieutenant Tae Yang announced from his station. The young tactical officer's fingers moved across his controls with practiced speed. Scanning the system now, Hana nodded. Ambassador Relna, please signal your homeworld. Let them know help has arrived. Relna stood at the back of the bridge, still trying to process what she was seeing. Human bridges were so different from Veltan ships. Every station was manned by focused, efficient crew members. There was no panic, no hesitation. These people were ready for war. She sent the signal. Within minutes, a response came back. The voice of Defense Coordinator Thosavim, leader of what remained of Veltan military forces. This is Veltan Prime Defense. We received your message, Ambassador. How many ships did the humans send? 3,000 warships, Coordinator. Relna replied. This is their third fleet. There was a long silence. 3,000? Ambassador, our entire defense force at its peak was 300 ships. Are you certain of this number? I am standing on their flagship right now. I am looking at the fleet with my own eyes. Another pause. Then perhaps we have a chance. The Kratheks have been gathering near the fourth planet. Our sensors show approximately 800 of their warships. Captain Hana stepped closer. Coordinator Thosavim, this is Captain Hana Cho of the Earth defense ship Thunderhead. Request permission to enter your system and begin defensive operations. Permission granted, Captain. Though I confess I am skeptical that even your numbers will be enough. The Kratheks are brutal fighters. Hana smiled, though there was no humor in it. Coordinator, humans invented brutal. The fleet moved deeper into the system. On the fourth planet, a Krathex patrol group detected their approach. Battle Commander Thrasenak received the report with irritation. More ships? The Veltan had nothing left. These must be reinforcements from one of their pathetic allies. How many vessels? Thrasenak demanded. Sensors are detecting multiple contacts, Commander. Hundreds of ships. No thousands. That's impossible. The Veltan barely had 300 at their peak. Thrasenak pulled up the sensor data himself. His four eyes widened. The display showed an enormous fleet. Where did they get so many ships? Unknown, Commander. The ship designs don't match any known Veltan configuration. These are from a different species. Thrasenak felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Uncertainty. The Krathex Dominion had crushed every opponent they faced through overwhelming force and ruthless tactics. But this fleet was larger than anything he had ever seen. Send a patrol group. 12 ships. Find out who these newcomers are and make it clear this system belongs to the Krathex. While the Krathex prepared their response, Captain Hana was meeting with Defense Coordinator Thosavim via holographic transmission. The Veltan commander appeared as a shimmering image on the bridge. He was tall for his species, with crystalline structures that glowed with a deep blue color. His posture showed exhaustion and grief. Captain Cho, I must be honest with you, Thosavim said. I have watched my people die for 2 years. I have lost friends, family, and most of my forces. I requested Ambassador Relina to send the distress call because I had no other options left. But I do not understand why your people would come so far to fight our war. It's not just your war anymore, Coordinator, Hana replied. You asked for help. We answered. That makes it our war too. But you don't know us. We are strangers, Hana leaned forward. On Earth we have a belief. All intelligent life has value. What the Krathex are doing is wrong. We have the power to stop it, so we will. Thosavim was quiet for a moment. Your words are kind, Captain. But words don't win battles. The Krathex are strong and cruel. They take joy in causing pain. Then they're going to learn something about Deathworlders, Hana said. We're stronger. And when protecting innocence, we can be crueler. Before Thosavim could respond, Lieutenant Tae Yang spoke up. Captain, sensors are detecting 12 Krathex ships approaching our position. They're on an intercept course. Finally, Hana turned to her crew. Battle stations. Let's show our new friends what they're dealing with. She looked at Relna. Ambassador, you might want to take a seat. This could get rough. Relna settled into a chair that had been modified for her body structure. She watched the main display as the Krathex ships appeared. They were large, angular vessels covered in weapon ports. They looked dangerous. The Krathex patrol leader opened a communication channel. His face appeared on screen. He looked like a massive reptile with 4 glowing eyes and scales that shimmered with dark colors. When he spoke, his voice was full of contempt. Unknown vessels, you are trespassing in Krathex territory. You will leave immediately or be destroyed. Hana stared at the Krathex commander without expression. This system belongs to the Velton Union. You are the ones trespassing. You have one chance to withdraw your forces and leave this system. If you refuse, we will remove you. The Krathex commander laughed. It was an ugly sound. You dare threaten the Krathex Dominion? We have conquered 17 species. We have destroyed planets. What are you? We're humans, Hana said simply. And we're done talking.
Last warning.
Leave or be destroyed, then die, fools. The Krathex commander cut the transmission. His ships opened fire. Relna watched in horror as energy weapons and missiles streaked toward the human fleet. But Captain Hana didn't even flinch. She raised one hand and made a casual gesture. Defensive screen activated. Return fire. Target their engines and weapons. I want prisoners for interrogation. What happened next stunned everyone watching. The human ships moved with incredible speed and precision. Their defensive systems intercepted every Krathex weapon. Not a single shot reached a human hull. At the same time, the human warships fired back. Lieutenant Tae Yang coordinated the attack with perfect timing. Thunderhead and Destroyers 7 through 12. Focus fire on Target 1. Cruiser Group Gamma. Take targets 2 and 3. Destroyer Group Alpha. Disable targets 4 through 6. The Krathex ships tried to evade, but human weapons tracked them perfectly. Within seconds, 6 Krathex vessels were crippled. Their engines destroyed, their weapons offline. The remaining 6 ships tried to fight back, but they were outmatched in every way. Captain Hana watched her displays with satisfaction. They're using 2-dimensional tactics. They're not thinking in 3 dimensions at all. She touched her controls. Destroyer Group Beta, execute Maneuver 7 Charlie. A group of human destroyers suddenly changed direction, diving below the Krathex formation. The Krathex ships tried to rotate to face this new threat, but they were too slow. Human weapons struck from above and below simultaneously. 2 more Krathex ships went dark, their systems destroyed. The remaining 4 ships broke formation and tried to flee. Let 2 of them go, Hana ordered. Disable the other 2. I want their commanders alive. Human ships chased down the fleeing Krathex vessels with ease. Within minutes, 2 more were crippled. The final 2 ships jumped to FTL and escaped. The entire battle had lasted less than 4 minutes. On the bridge, there was no celebration. The human crew simply returned to their duties as if nothing unusual had happened. But Relna was shaking. She had just watched 12 Krathex warships, the same ships that had destroyed Velton fleets, get torn apart like paper. Defense Coordinator Thosavim's hologram flickered back on. The Velton commander looked as shocked as Relna felt. Captain Cho, I have never seen anything like that. You destroyed 10 Krathex ships in minutes. We disabled them, Coordinator, Hana corrected. We'll capture the crews and find out everything they know about Krathex positions and tactics. Then we'll free any Velton prisoners they might have on board. But how? The Krathex have always been superior in battle. Lieutenant Tae Yang answered this time. Coordinator, the Krathex use predictable formations and 2-dimensional thinking. Their ships are powerful but slow. Their tactics are aggressive but simple. They've probably won their previous wars through intimidation and numbers, not skill. And they've never fought Deathworlders before, Hana added. Earth forced us to evolve. Everything on our planet wanted to kill us, so we learned to kill everything first. We learned to fight in 3 dimensions because Earth has predators that attack from sky, land, and sea. We learned rapid response because on Earth hesitation means death. Relna finally found her voice. Captain, what you just did would normally take hours of battle. Your people moved perfectly together. We've been at war for most of our history, Ambassador, Hana said quietly. Humans have fought thousands of battles. We've had millions of soldiers study tactics and strategy. We've learned from every fight, every victory, every defeat. War is something we understand very, very well. The transmission alert sounded again. This time it was from deeper in the system. Battle Commander Thrasnak appeared on screen. His expression showed shock and fear. What are you? He demanded. What species fights like that? We're humans from Earth, Hana replied. And we're here to end your war against the Velton people. You destroyed 12 ships in minutes. War Master Krelvok stood in his command chamber aboard the Dominion flagship Deathbringer. He was massive, even for a Krathex, nearly 3 meters tall with scales that shone like polished black metal. His 4 eyes glowed with rage as he watched the battle recording for the 3rd time. This is impossible, he growled. 12 of our ships destroyed in minutes? Battle Commander Thrasnak stood at attention, his body language showing fear. War Master, I witnessed it myself. These humans fight like nothing we have encountered before. They move in perfect coordination. Their weapons are incredibly precise, and their tactics enough. Krelvok slammed his fist against the console. They are just another weak species. They got lucky against a small patrol group. When they face the full might of the Krathek's dominion, they will die like all the others. But Warmaster, they have 3,000 warships. Our main fleet has only 800. Numbers mean nothing without the will to use them. Krelvox pulled up tactical displays of the Velton system. The humans are protecting the Velton homeworld. They think they can defend it. We will prove them wrong. He turned to his commanders. Gather the entire fleet. We attack Velton Prime immediately. We will crush these humans and then finish exterminating the Velton. Warmaster, perhaps we should request reinforcements from... No. Krelvox's roar echoed through the chamber. I will not admit to the High Command that I need help dealing with one unknown species. We attack in 6 hours. Prepare the fleet for total assault. Thrasenak bowed and left, but his mind was troubled. He had seen the recording. He had watched how the humans fought. Something in his warrior's instinct told him they were making a terrible mistake. On the Thunderhead, Captain Hana received the intelligence report from long-range sensors. She studied the data with Lieutenant Tae Yang standing beside her. The Kratheks are gathering their entire fleet, Tae Yang reported. 800 warships all moving toward Velton Prime. They'll arrive in approximately 6 hours. Good, Hana said. Admiral Daewon is 2 days out with the first fleet, but we don't need them for this. Captain, we're outnumbered nearly 3-1. Hana smiled. No, Lieutenant. They're outnumbered by 3,000 trained, disciplined, angry humans who know exactly what these creatures have been doing to innocent civilians. She pulled up the fleet formation displays. Begin deployment. Pattern Delta 7. I want defensive screens around Velton Prime with strike groups ready to exploit any gaps in their formation. Yes, Captain. Tae Yang began sending orders to the fleet. Dr. Yuna Shin entered the bridge. She had been on the surface of Velton Prime with civilian representative Mira Sul, documenting the stories of survivors from the occupied colonies. Her eyes were red from crying, but her expression was pure steel. Captain, I just returned from the refugee camps, Yuna said, her voice shaking with emotion. I've been interviewing survivors. The Kratheks didn't just attack military targets. They hunted children for sport. They experimented on prisoners. She stopped, unable to continue. Hana's jaw tightened. Doctor, I need you to compile everything you've learned. Every atrocity, every crime. When this is over, the entire galaxy is going to know exactly what the Kratheks did. There's more, Captain. Mirasul showed me records. The Kratheks have been doing this for decades. The Velton weren't their first victims. There are at least 5 other species they've destroyed completely. The bridge went silent. Every human crew member who heard this information felt the same cold anger settle over them. Lieutenant Tae Yang spoke quietly. Captain, new orders for the fleet? Yes. Hana looked at her tactical officer. When the Kratheks arrive, we are not holding back. Full combat authorization. These monsters don't get to surrender after what they've done. They want a battle? We'll give them one they'll remember forever. Ambassador Relna had been listening from her station. Captain Cho, I understand your anger. I share it. But are you certain your fleet can prevail? Ambassador, humanity has been at war with itself for most of our existence. We fought in every environment Earth could create. Frozen wastes, burning deserts, deep oceans, high mountains. We've developed tactics for every situation. We've learned how to turn any advantage into victory and how to win even when we're outnumbered. Hana turned to face her. The Kratheks have numbers. We have 10,000 years of warfare experience. It's not even close to a fair fight. 6 hours later, the Kratheks fleet emerged from FTL travel at the edge of Velton Prime's orbit. 800 warships, all bristling with weapons, all ready for destruction. Warmaster Krelvok stood on his bridge watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. There, he said, pointing at the screen. The human fleet is scattered around the planet. They've split their forces. Fools. Battle Commander Thrasenak studied the formation more carefully. Warmaster, I don't think they've split their forces. I think that's a defensive screen with reserve units behind it. This formation allows them to... I don't care what it allows them to do, Krelvox interrupted. We will hit them with overwhelming force before they can react. He opened a channel to the entire Kratheks fleet. All ships, Battle Formation Alpha. We strike at the center of their line and break through to the planet. Once we're in orbit, we begin orbital bombardment. The humans will have to choose between fighting us and watching the Velton homeworld burn. The Krathex fleet began moving forward in a massive wedge formation. 800 ships, weapons charged and ready. On the Thunderhead, alarms chimed softly. Lieutenant Taeyang's hands moved across his controls. Captain Krathex fleet is moving to attack. Formation Alpha Wedge, speed 0.7. Time to engagement, 3 minutes. All fleet elements, this is Thunderhead, Hana announced calmly. Execute Delta 7 on my mark. Fire control is weapons free. Target priority is command ships and carriers. Remember what these monsters did to innocent people. Make them pay for it. Around Velton Prime, the human fleet shifted. What had looked like a scattered defensive screen suddenly reformed into a perfect three-dimensional trap. The Krathex wedge was flying straight into it. Tactical analysis? Hana asked. They're using brute force, Captain, Taeyang replied. No subtlety, no tactical flexibility. They think they can just ram through us with numbers and firepower. Then they're about to get an education. All ships mark. Execute now. The battle began. The Krathex fleet charged forward, expecting to meet resistance at the human defensive line. Instead, that line suddenly wasn't there. The human ships scattered in perfect coordination, creating gaps in their formation that looked like weaknesses. The Krathex, seeing an opening, pushed forward eagerly. It was a trap. As the Krathex fleet committed to their attack, human ships that had been positioned above and below the main formation suddenly activated. The Krathex found themselves inside a sphere of human warships taking fire from every direction. Destroyer groups Alpha through Epsilon commence attack, Taeyang ordered. Cruiser squadrons focus on their carriers. Thunderhead and Battle Group 1 target the command ship. The Thunderhead's weapons opened fire. The flagship's main cannons fired beams of concentrated energy that burned through Krathex shields like they weren't there. Around the battle space, 3,000 human ships moved like a school of predators, each one knowing exactly where every other ship would be. Warmaster Krelvox watched in growing horror as his formation collapsed. The Krathex ships tried to form defensive positions, but the humans were everywhere. They attacked from above, below, from the sides. They used weapons the Krathex had never seen before. Missiles that tracked perfectly, beams that never missed, defensive systems that blocked everything. Return fire. Krelvox roared. All ships, return fire! The Krathex did. 800 warships unleashed everything they had, but the human ships were already moving, dancing through the weapons fire with impossible precision. The few shots that did hit were absorbed by shields that seemed far stronger than they should be. Battle Commander Thracenak tried to organize a counterattack. Units 7 through 20, form on me. We'll hit their right flank. His transmission was cut off as 3 human destroyers targeted his ship specifically. Within seconds, his vessel was crippled. He watched helplessly as the battle became a slaughter. Captain Hana stood calmly on her bridge watching the tactical displays. Lieutenant Taeyang called out updates in a steady voice. Enemy casualties at 20% and climbing. Our losses minimal. 2 destroyers reporting minor damage, already pulling back for repairs. Target their command structure, Hana ordered. Cut off their communications and coordination. I want them panicking. Human weapons focused on Krathex command ships and communication vessels. Within minutes, the Krathex fleet lost central coordination. Individual ships tried to fight back, but without organization, they were just targets. On the Deathbringer, Warmaster Krelvox finally understood the truth. These humans weren't just another species. They were apex predators evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. They fought with a precision and brutality that came from millions of years of survival against impossible odds. Retreat, he finally ordered. All ships retreat. But retreat was not going to be easy. The human fleet had anticipated this. Ships that had been held in reserve now moved to cut off escape routes. Commander Bora Lee stood in the briefing room aboard the assault carrier Righteous Fury. Around her, 300 Marine officers waited for her orders. Bora was 38 years old and had spent 20 of those years in ground combat. She had fought on 12 different worlds in every environment imaginable. She was exactly 165 centimeters tall, but every single Marine in the room knew better than to underestimate her. Listen up, Bora said, her voice cutting through the room. We have 5 occupied Velton colonies to liberate. The Krathex have been holding these populations for 2 years. Intelligence suggests they're using the civilians as slave labor and shields. Some colonies have prison camps. Some have forced labor facilities. All of them have Krathek's garrison forces. She pulled up holographic displays of each world. We're hitting all 5 simultaneously. The Kratheks won't have time to coordinate a response or harm prisoners. Each task force has been assigned a target world. I'll be leading the assault on Velton 4, the most heavily fortified colony. Questions? A young officer raised her hand. Commander, what's our rules of engagement? Bora's expression hardened. Any Krathex who surrenders immediately will be taken prisoner for war crimes trials. Any who resist or try to harm civilians will be eliminated with extreme prejudice. We've seen what these monsters do to prisoners. We're not giving them a chance to do it again. The room murmured in agreement. Every human in the fleet had seen Dr. Yuna's reports. They all knew what the Krathex were capable of. Remember, Bora continued, we're not just here to fight. We're here to save people. Every civilian life matters. Every prisoner we rescue is a victory. Move fast, hit hard, and get our people out. Marines, are you ready? Yes, Commander. 300 voices answered as one. Then let's go bring our new friends home. Velton 4 was a mining colony before the Krathex arrived. It had been home to 300,000 Velton civilians. When the Krathex conquered it, they turned the entire population into slave labor, forcing them to mine rare minerals for the Dominion. Intelligence suggested only 200,000 survived. The rest had died from exhaustion, starvation, or execution. The Krathex garrison numbered approximately 10,000 soldiers with heavy weapons and fortified positions. They thought themselves safe behind their defenses. They had never fought humans before. The assault began at dawn. Human dropships descended from orbit, their approach covered by fighter craft that cleared the skies. The Krathex garrison detected them immediately and prepared to defend. Commander Bora rode in the lead dropship. Through the window, she could see the main prison camp below, a massive complex surrounded by walls and guard towers. Velton prisoners moved between buildings, forced to work even as weapons fire began to sound. 30 seconds to landing, the pilot announced. Enemy fire incoming! The dropship shook as Krathex anti-aircraft weapons hit its shields. But the shields held. Humans had learned to build ships that could survive anything. The dropship landed hard in the middle of the prison yard. The rear door dropped and Bora charged out, her rifle already firing. Behind her, 50 Marines followed, moving with perfect precision. The Krathex guards had seconds to react. It wasn't enough. Bora moved like she was born for combat. Her rifle fired in controlled bursts, each shot hitting exactly where she aimed. Around her, Marines secured positions, covering each other's movements automatically. This was what they trained for. This was what Earth's harsh environment had prepared them to do. A Krathex soldier raised his weapon toward a group of Velton prisoners. Bora was faster. 3 shots center mass. The Krathex dropped. Marines, secure the prisoners, Bora ordered. Medical teams forward. Demolition units breached the main building. More dropships were landing now. Hundreds of human soldiers poured into the camp. The Krathex garrison tried to mount a defense, but they were facing an enemy that fought with terrifying efficiency. The Krathex had evolved on a world of mild gravity and gentle weather. Combat for them was about dominating weaker species through intimidation and superior numbers. But humans evolved on Earth where everything wanted to kill them. Humans learned to fight predators that were bigger, faster, and stronger. They learned to think tactically, to work as groups, to turn any advantage into victory. The Krathex didn't stand a chance. Bora reached the main building where the camp commandant had his headquarters. She kicked down the door and found him inside, a massive Krathex with elaborate armor and 3 terrified Velton civilians cowering in the corner. Stay back or they die, the commandant roared, pointing his weapon at the prisoners. Bora didn't hesitate. One perfectly aimed shot struck the commandant's weapon, destroying it. Before he could react, 3 Marines had him on the ground, restraining him. Get the civilians to safety, Bora ordered. She looked down at the commandant. You're going to stand trial for what you did here. Every atrocity, every death, every crime. The galaxy is going to know exactly what you are. Throughout the camp, the battle was ending. The Krathex garrison was surrendering or dying. Human medical teams were already treating injured Velton prisoners. Engineers were setting up temporary shelters and food distribution points. Dr. Yuna Shin arrived on the second wave of dropships. She moved through the camp with Velton civilian representative Mirasul, documenting everything, speaking to survivors, offering comfort where she could. One elderly Velton approached Una. His crystalline structure was cracked and damaged from 2 years of forced labor. "Are you truly here to save us?" he asked, his voice weak. Una felt tears run down her face. "Yes, you're safe now. The humans are here and we're taking you home. But why? Why would your people fight for us?" "Because you needed help," Una said simply. "Because what happened to you was wrong. And because we could." Similar scenes played out on all 5 colonies simultaneously. On Velton 7, human Marines assaulted a fortified mountain complex where Krathex had been conducting experiments on prisoners. On Velton 2, they liberated a farming colony where Velton had been forced to grow food for the occupation forces. On Velton 9, they rescued survivors from what the Krathex called re-education camps. Every colony told the same story. The Krathex had been brutal, efficient, and merciless, and everywhere the humans were faster, stronger, and more determined. On Velton 4, Commander Bora stood in what had been the Commandant's office. She was reviewing reports from all 5 operations. The numbers made her heart hurt, but they were better than she feared. Total Velton prisoners rescued 842,000. Total Krathex prisoners taken 31,000. Total human casualties 217 wounded, 12 killed in action. Every human life lost hurt. But they had saved almost 1 million people. That was worth the cost. Captain Hana's transmission came through. "Commander Lee, excellent work. All 5 colonies secured ahead of schedule. Admiral Daewon sends his congratulations." "Thank you, Captain. We've got a lot of traumatized civilians here. They're going to need time and care. Dr. Shin is coordinating with Velton medical teams now. We're establishing temporary hospitals on each colony. The Admiral has also approved sending civilian support ships from Earth, counselors, medical staff, engineers to help rebuild." Bora nodded. "Good, these people have been through hell. They deserve better." After the transmission ended, Bora walked through the camp. Everywhere she looked, Velton civilians were crying, embracing each other, celebrating their freedom. Human Marines were helping them, offering food and water, treating injuries, just being present. One group of young Velton, barely more than children, approached Bora. They looked at her with wide eyes full of wonder and gratitude. "Are you really from a death world?" one of them asked. Bora knelt down to their level. "Yes, Earth is a very dangerous planet. It made us strong so we could survive. And you came all this way to save us?" "We did, because you're worth saving." "Will you teach us to be strong like you?" another asked. "So if bad people come again, we can protect ourselves?" Bora smiled. It was the first real smile she'd had in days. "Yes. If your people want to learn, we'll teach you everything we know about defending yourselves. No one will ever do this to you again." On the Thunderhead, Ambassador Relna was watching reports from all 5 colonies. Every screen showed freed Velton civilians, secured prison camps, captured Krathex soldiers. She couldn't process it all. 2 years of horror and suffering ended in just 3 days. Captain Hana found her in the observation room. "Ambassador, we've received word from Defense Coordinator Thosavim. He's requesting a meeting to discuss the next phase." "The next phase?" Relna turned to face her. "Captain, you've already done more than we ever dreamed possible. You destroyed the Krathex fleet. You liberated our colonies. What else is there?" "Justice," Hana said simply. "The Krathex homeworld still stands. Their government still exists. And according to Dr. Shin's research, the Velton weren't their first victims. We found records in the captured ships. The Krathex have destroyed 5 other species over the past 50 years, completely wiped them out." Relna felt her internal structure go cold. 5 species? Extinct? Extinct. Every single member dead or enslaved until they died. Entire civilizations erased. The Krathex homeworld of Krathus Prime had stood unconquered for 200 years. It was the heart of an empire built on conquest and cruelty. Massive orbital defense platforms surrounded the planet. Hundreds of remaining warships guarded its space. Billions of Krathex citizens lived on its surface, confident in their military superiority. That confidence was about to be shattered. Battle Commander Thrasnak stood in the emergency command center deep beneath the capital city. He had escaped the battle at Velton Prime with a warning that no one wanted to hear. Now, with the human fleets approaching, everyone was finally listening. "They're not like anything we've faced before," Thrasnak told the assembled military leadership. "The humans fight with absolute precision. They coordinate thousands of ships perfectly. They use three-dimensional tactics we've never encountered, and they're angry, truly deeply angry about what we did to the Velton. We are the Krathek's Dominion, one admiral argued. We have conquered 17 species. We will conquer these humans too. You don't understand, Thracenac said desperately. I've seen them fight. They come from a world that tried to kill them every day for millions of years. Fighting is what they evolved to do. War is in their nature. Before anyone could respond, alarms screamed throughout the command center. A junior officer looked up from her console, her scales pale with fear. Supreme Command sensors detect massive FTL signatures at the edge of the system. Ships are emerging? Hundreds of them, thousands, her voice broke. 10,000 warships, all human. The command center went silent. 10,000 ships. The entire remaining Krathek's military numbered perhaps 400 vessels, plus the orbital platforms. They were outnumbered 25-1. Admiral Dewan stood on the bridge of the EDS Indomitable, his flagship. Around him, the combined 1st, 2nd, and 3rd fleets filled space like an armada of metal stars. Captain Hana's Thunderhead held position to his right. Dozens of other command ships surrounded him, all waiting for orders. Admiral, all fleet elements report ready, Lieutenant Tae Yang announced from his tactical station. Total combat strength is 9,873 warships. All systems operational. Daewon nodded. He had spent 3 days traveling here, thinking about this moment. Thinking about what justice meant. What mercy meant. What his responsibility was. Ambassador Relena stood behind him on the bridge. She had insisted on being here for this final battle. Admiral, before you begin, I need to say something. Speak, Ambassador. My people asked for help because we were dying. You answered that call with overwhelming force. You saved us. You freed our colonies. You gave us back our future. Relna paused. But I have seen what humans can do in battle. I have seen your ships destroy entire fleets. And I am afraid of what might happen here today. Afraid of what, specifically? The Krathek's homeworld has billions of civilians. Not soldiers, not warriors. Just people living their lives. People who may not even know about the atrocities their military committed. Relena's crystalline structure glowed with emotion. I don't want you to become like the Kratheks. I don't want genocide answered with genocide. Admiral Daewon turned to face her. His expression was serious, but his eyes showed understanding. Ambassador, humanity has fought many wars. We've made terrible mistakes. We've done things we regret. But we've also learned that vengeance and justice are not the same thing. He pulled up tactical displays showing the Krathek's homeworld. We're here to end a threat, to make sure the Kratheks never again commit genocide. But we're not here to exterminate them. We're not monsters, Ambassador. We're soldiers fighting for something better. Then what will you do? We're going to give them one chance, one opportunity to surrender and face justice. If they accept, this ends without more bloodshed. If they refuse, Daewon looked at the planet on his screen, then we'll do what's necessary to stop them. But only what's necessary. He opened a communication channel that broadcast to every ship in the Krathek system. This is Admiral Daewon Kim of the United Earth Defense Fleet. I'm speaking to the Krathek's government and military command. You are surrounded by 10,000 human warships. Your military is broken. Your fleets are destroyed. Your empire is finished. On Krathis Prime, every screen showed the Admiral's face. In the command center, in government buildings, in civilian homes, everyone heard his words. You have committed genocide against multiple species, Daewon continued. You have enslaved and murdered billions of innocent people. You have made yourselves enemies of all civilized life. But we are not here to exterminate you. We are here to stop you. He paused, letting his words sink in. You have 1 hour to decide. Surrender unconditionally. Disarm your remaining military. Turn over your government leaders and military commanders for trial. Allow us to establish a temporary peacekeeping force to ensure your demilitarization. If you do these things, your civilization will survive. You will have a chance to rebuild, to become better than you were. In the command center, the Krathek's leaders looked at each other with fear and rage. Surrender? Accept occupation? Unthinkable, and if we refuse? War Master Krelvox's voice came over the channel. He was still alive, still commanding from a bunker deep underground. If you refuse, Daewon said quietly, we will eliminate every military target in your system, every ship, every platform, every weapons facility. We will ensure you never threaten anyone again, and then we will leave you here. disarmed and defenseless while the galaxy decides what to do with a species that committed multiple genocides. The channel went silent. On Earth ships throughout the fleet, humans waited. They were ready to fight if necessary. But everyone hoped it wouldn't be necessary. Dr. Yuna Shin had come aboard the Indomitable to witness this moment. She stood next to Commander Bo-Ra, both of them watching the tactical displays. Around them, Marines waited for orders that might never come. "Do you think they'll surrender?" Yuna asked. "I don't know," Bo-Ra replied honestly. "The Kratheks have spent 200 years believing they're superior to everyone else. That's hard to let go of, but they must see they can't win. Knowing you can't win and accepting it are different things." Bo-Ra checked her weapon automatically. Some people will fight even when it's hopeless, just because they can't imagine any other choice. On Krathi's Prime, the government was in chaos. Some wanted to fight to the last. Others argued for surrender. Still others wanted to try evacuating leadership and continuing the war from secret bases. Battle Commander Thrasnak watched the arguments with growing frustration. Finally, he stood and spoke loudly enough to silence the room. "I fought these humans at Velton Prime. I watched them destroy 600 ships in 30 minutes. I saw their precision, their coordination, their absolute lack of mercy for anyone who threatened innocence." He looked around the room. "They're not bluffing. They have 10,000 warships. They've proven they can use them. If we fight, we die, all of us. Every military asset we have, and then we're helpless. So you counsel surrender?" Krelvox spat. "You would have us bow to these Deathworld savages?" "I counsel survival," Thrasnak replied. "We made terrible mistakes. We committed atrocities. Now we pay the price. But if we surrender, at least our species continues. At least our children have a future." The argument raged for 45 minutes. Finally, with only 15 minutes left, a vote was called. By a narrow margin, the government chose surrender. Admiral Daewon received the transmission. A Krathek's government official appeared on screen, her scales dull with defeat. "Admiral, the Krathek's government accepts your terms. We will surrender unconditionally. We will disarm our military. We will turn over those responsible for war crimes. Please spare our civilians," Daewon nodded once. "Your surrender is accepted. Begin powering down your orbital platforms immediately. All ships are to dock at designated stations and stand down. Ground forces are to report to collection points. Anyone who attempts to resist will be dealt with swiftly." Throughout the Krathek system, military forces began to surrender. Orbital platforms went dark. Ships docked and powered down their weapons. Soldiers reported to human-designated areas. Captain Hana coordinated the occupation with Lieutenant Tae Yang and dozens of other officers. It was a massive undertaking, securing an entire star system, ensuring no one tried to resist, protecting both human forces and Krathek civilians who might fear retaliation. Commander Bo-Ra led her Marines down to the surface. They secured government buildings, weapons depots, and military bases. Everywhere they went, Krathek soldiers surrendered without fight. The humans treated them professionally but firmly, making it clear that any resistance would end badly. Dr. Yuna worked with Ambassador Relna to establish humanitarian protocols. Yes, the Kratheks had committed terrible crimes, but the civilians still needed food, water, medical care. The humans would provide that while ensuring the Kratheks could never threaten anyone again. Within 3 days, the occupation was complete. War Master Krelvox and the entire Krathek's military leadership were in human custody. The government had been dissolved. A temporary administration was being established under human and Veltin oversight. Admiral Daewon called a meeting of all senior officers. They gathered in the Indomitable's main briefing room.